because we have a father or mother in the profession or something, or they're very big also, doesn't mean that we are going to. Our own contribution is very important. Our own hard work is very important.
Being a son of a doctor gave me advantage of access for the early meetings,
Yeah,
IMA, API.
yeah.
So
No,
it was
there are a lot of advantage. If you make use of it, we are in a very much advantageous position. See, my father was the same field as me, so it is a huge advantage. In fact, in some of the meetings, some people who are very jealous, they come and make all kinds of comments when I speak, and they'll say, "What for you? Your father," openly in the mic, your father is a diabetologist, you had everything. My father was a farmer, my father was something else. How can I said, did I compare with you? Did I compare with you and say I'm greater than you? I didn't say anything like that. I'm only presenting. Maybe I was lucky, correct. If somebody is lucky, I was born in that particular family. So,
but luck doesn't favor everyone, no, sir.
huh?
Luck doesn't favor everyone.
That's the thing. We're not all born equal. No, there are some born in a slum. Some were born millionaires, billionaires. If Bill Gates has a child, definitely they are better off than a
You
slum
could have
person in India. So you cannot compare and say your father was there. Correct, but whether you make use of it is the thing. Whether there are the people who can become drug addicts and become thing and completely lose their way also, in spite of having the money and in spite of having. There are others who will come up from nothing and then become very big. If you take Neeraj Chopra, he was an ordinary family in Patiala, isn't it? So from there he just came up as an obese boy at the age of 13, and the age of 23 he is winning an Olympic gold medal. So how did it happen? There are a lot of things have happened. He himself worked very hard. The army encouraged him. India encouraged him. Sports authority encouraged him. So many things encouraged. That is why he came up. But today, if you say, oh, he had all the advantage, he was in the army, that is why he was there. If I was in the army, I would also done. Well, you try to do something else. We're not asking you to be Neeraj Chopra. We're asking you to do what you can do. Nothing wrong in it. Never compare. So
that's true. Maybe like one more thing which I admire from the book, you could have stayed very comfortable with your father's practice, but you ventured out. You want to create your own brand.
Yeah.
So a lot of struggles. And
and I had to start all over again. It's not that I had something ready and then I just moved to another. It's not like that. After building from nothing, bring it to a certain level, then go back to zero and then start again. To do it twice in a lifetime is not easy.
That is true.
Again, luck, again, God's grace.
Imagining MDRF thing and all. So I think I insist my students to buy the book, read once or twice, recreate the thing according to them. Then they will know whether the mistakes they're making, it is all learning curve. They should not get buried in that.
And you should not feel dejected also.
That is also there.
One failure occurs, you shouldn't get dejected. There are chapters on that also. I'll talk about all that today. In fact, I was very pleasantly surprised when my grandson's, classmate, their mother and all had come home recently. So she was telling every time her son goes for the exam, she makes her read one chapter from my book and then go just before the exam. He says he gets so much inspiration. I'll just say, read this chapter and go before you go for the exam. Just half an hour before, just read it and go quickly. And he says they do better because he gets inspired. Seeing the quote, seeing the thing, it is possible. Yes, it's possible. Like that, I think it's 12 now. So whenever you want to start, we can.
Yes, sir. Just give me a few minutes.
No problem.
So thank you all for joining. Let us wait for the speaker to resume back. So we're live on YouTube also. Hello, sir. Yeah.
We're ready to go?
Yes, sir. We are. So we're live on YouTube also. So I'll just get introduction.
Yeah, sure.
So good afternoon, everyone. So this is our next session on students skill development program. Very special one. And Dr. Mohan sir, he doesn't need any introduction. I just want to share the introduction page so that I'm not going to skip anything. And people should know about this, because once they see that, it will be definitely motivating them. So if you go to his page, you'll be able to see his personal information, his qualifications, his fellowships, his educations, his various positions, his current position, publications, and his charity, everything. You can just go and see here. And he has done various degrees, awards, fellowships, his graduations, his positions. Most important, his research. He has over 1,390 publications, includes 896 original research articles, humongous efforts, and he's a very vivid reader, starting from his age of, even the school age. He was aspiring writer and a poetist. So please go through this. And he has written a recent book called as Making Excellence a Habit, which I believe everyone should be reading that. It's a world-class book. And I want to show you this here. So this is the book. It's on Amazon, and every chapter, and it is very enjoyable. I read twice, and I'm wishing to read it more again and again, because it gives us, every time you reread the book, it gives you a sense of vision, and especially when you're in the upcoming phase in your life where you want to plan something in the healthcare industry. And his life lessons are very, very valuable, where it inspires you, it guides you. And I'm not going to waste much time. I'm going to present you Dr. Mohan. Good morning, sir. Pleasure to have you here. Thanks for accepting your invitation. And please proceed with the presentation, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Natesh Prabhu. I'm very grateful to you and the Dhanalakshmi Srinivas Medical College and Hospital.
Thank you, sir.
I will first share my screen. Let me see if I can. Is it visible now?
Yes, visible, sir. Please
okay. So I will proceed. See what happens. The full screen comes. I can't see you all, but I'll just proceed now. So thank you, Dr. Natesh Prabhu. I was pleasantly surprised when you called me for to give this talk. And since it is for students, I thought the best talk would be to talk about making excellence a habit. And the reason for that is that many people who have read this book kept telling me, the seniors who have read this, said, I wish I had read this book when I was in college. And it's not necessarily only for medical college students. For anybody, youngsters, anybody who's starting off, those who want to be entrepreneurs, scientists, doctors, engineers, lawyers, and those who are in the initial phases of their career will probably find this book very interesting. Just to tell you that these two pictures that you see here, I'm going to talk about them later in my talk. This is our hospital. This is our headquarters of Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center in Gopalapuram, which is an International Diabetes Federation Center of Excellence in Diabetes Care. And this is one of our buildings in of the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, which is an ICMR Center for Advanced Research on Diabetes. This is in Siruseri, in the outskirts of Chennai, in a 6.5 acre campus. So these are our headquarters, but we have branches all over, and I'll talk about that. So this once again to thank Dr. Nadesh Prabhu and the organizing committee of Dhanlakshmi Srinivasan Medical College and Hospital. I'd like to start with actually offering my thanks and my pranams to the people in my life who have got me to where I am. If I've reached something in life, it is not because, I was so brilliant and therefore I made it in life. But various people have helped me along the way. And one of them, the most important perhaps, is my father. Because, and I'll tell you the story, when I was in school, I was more interested in English literature. So I did not think that I will become a doctor. Of course, I was a brilliant student. I was always standing first. I could have got admission anywhere for anything. But I thought I should do English literature and become a writer, poet. That was my first love. But due to certain circumstances, my father, who is considered the father of diabetology in India, he started the first diabetic clinic at the Stanley Medical in India, at the Stanley Medical College and Hospital in Chennai in 1948. In pre-independent, post-independent India, that was the first diabetic clinic. Very recently, I discovered in pre-independent India, there were other clinics and so on. I've just written an article on that in the Journal of Association of Physicians of India, JAPI it is called. If you get a chance, read it, because that's before my father's time. I didn't know about it until this year. After 50 years after working in the field, I came to know all this, and nobody in India knew. So I've written an article on that, and that precedes my father's time. But let's not go into that. My father's, time, 1923, the year he was born, was also the year when insulin became commercially available, and the Nobel Prize for Insulin was also given that year. So it's a very historic year. In fact, it was in October 23 that the Nobel Prize was announced. So just after his birth was when the Nobel Prize for insulin discovery was given. So when he had his own life, he devoted his whole life to Stanley. He didn't build up much of a private practice because for him, he was as a teacher and a researcher more than anything else, and a very good clinician. His evening practice, because he was not paid in Stanley because he was a honorary professor, he had to have a small practice to sustain his life. So some 3 hours he practiced in the evening, and that is the only source of income he had. He was a man of very modest means. And but suddenly something happened. In 1969, he had to leave Stanley Medical College. I won't go into that, but he had to leave. And so at that time, he called me and he said, what are your plans for your life? So I told him I want to do English literature, I want to become. Then he said, can you change your plans and take up medicine? So I said, oh, I haven't thought about medicine. And so he said, I need help. I need somebody to help me in my work. I'm going to now start something big in the private sector, which so far I have not done all my life. You're my eldest son. Unless I know that somebody is going to continue the work, there's no point in me trying to build up something. I don't know how long I'll be there. So better that, you join me, and I want you to join me. So I thought about it, and I said, and he said, you want to be a writer, you can do medical writing. That is also writing only. You want to be a writer, basically. Instead of doing English literature and poetry, you write scientific articles. So I said, okay, in that case, you must build something for me right now. I can't, waste 10, 15 years, then come, and then by the time you will be so old, then I'll do research. My passion is now. Now I want to do. I'm only 17, 18 years old. Right now I want to do. And at that time, his clinic was in a shambles, actually, in a small rented place, and a few rooms he had. And that was the state when I joined him in 1971, 72. But it was he who, brought me into this field, and therefore, but for him, I don't think today I'll be standing here and talking in front of you. There's one more person who many of you may know, Professor Lalita Kameshwaran. She was a professor of pharmacology in Madras Medical College. She later became the first vice chancellor of the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University. Now, madam, when I came to third year, I had already started doing work with my father, and I had already started publishing anatomy, physiology, biochemistry days. I was doing so much of research and publishing. When I came to pharmacology, she noticed that I have got an extraordinary interest in research. So she said, we have an animal house. It is all completely in ruins. If you want to revive it, 2 months of your holidays, you can, if you want to sacrifice your holidays, you are more than welcome to come and work. I jumped at it and I said, yes, madam, I want to do dog experiments. So allow me to do. So not only in the holidays, but I continued whole of third year, whole of fourth year. I was doing dog experiments, producing a diabetic model. I was very much inspired by Banting and Best, who discovered insulin. Best was actually in second year when the insulin was discovered by Banting, a young doctor, and Best. So that was my passion after reading about Banting and Best. So she is another, and I did my PhD under her. And so I owe everything to madam as well. And then, of course, my wife. She is my classmate. If those of you who have read the book will know, I've described in detail how I met her and so on. But she also became my partner. She became our managing director. And she was a pioneer in her field of diabetic retinopathy. In fact, among all the ophthalmologists in India, she was the first to get a PhD. The first ophthalmologist in India to get a PhD was Rama. And so she was a kind of bedrock. She stood by my side like a rock. We lost her 10 years ago to cancer. But by the time she had done everything for me, she had built the institution, she had built the eye department, she had done everything, the research centers, rural work, every aspect of it. She had not only that, she had also trained my daughter. We have only one daughter, who is Anjana, who is now, of course, quite well known. She is our managing director now. She is not the joint manager, she is a joint managing director now. And so she and my son-in-law, I have only one child, that's Anjana, and my son-in-law, Ranjit, who is our vice chairman, they form a fantastic, pair. In fact, I think it's a very old slide. They've all got all the FRCPs they've got, and they've got every degree, FACE, you name it, everything that possible under the sun, they've already got. So they are the people who are now actually driving the whole institution. And I've taken a slightly back seat because they are doing it so well. So my thanks to them. But then the whole team, it's not just a family affair. We call it as the extended family. I have 1,400 people who work for me. Scientists, administrators, clinicians, diabetologists, ophthalmologists, surgeons, nutrition people, epidemiologists, clinical trial people, translational prevention people, statisticians, genomics people, vascular biology. It's a whole ecosystem, we call it, which we have built. And it's they who do all the work. I get all the credit, but I think the entire, credit actually goes to my team. And if I've achieved anything in life, it's due to these great people who work for me. So this book has already been mentioned by Natesh Prabhu. So those of you who have not got it, you can simply order it on Amazon India. You just go to Amazon India and type Dr. V. Mohan, it will come. It's always been in the bestseller list. In fact, it's been bestseller number 1 in the physician and patient category almost throughout from February when it was launched until now. It has very rarely missed the bestseller number 1 position. Sometimes it goes to bestseller number 2, but usually it comes back to bestseller number 1. So it's become very, very good. In fact, in management institutes now, they're using this book as a kind of a guide. And so I'm very grateful that this book has been received so well. I'm going to base my talk on this book actually, because that is the title of my talk. So just to show you as an introduction, what is excellence and why should it become a habit? Excellence is a quality of being outstanding or extremely good. Now, if you just say, I satisfied the customer, I satisfied my patient, that is 20 years ago, with the patient satisfied. Nowadays, everybody satisfies the patient. Now is the days when we get hit, killed, hit, stoned, everything. So satisfying and all that is all gone. You have to delight the customer. You have to delight the patient. And that is where excellence comes in. Otherwise, a competitor will do it, and you will never get what you deserve. So excellence is being extremely good and outstanding. Only then you will make a mark in life. But what's a habit? A habit is something that you do regularly or practice regularly, which becomes very hard to give up. I always say that there's a 21-day rule. You start something for 21 days and you won't be able to break it after that. Suppose you're not a coffee drinker and today you start drinking coffee. Today, tomorrow, next day, 21 days. After 21 days, you won't be able to stop that coffee. Suppose 12 o'clock is the time or 12:20 is the time when I have my coffee. By the time that 12:20 comes, I'll be, restless if I don't get my coffee. That's a habit. Similarly, you can have, if it's a smoking person, if you don't give him a smoke, he'll die, So you can develop good habits as well as bad habits. Good habits will be getting up in the morning at 5:30 every day, going for a walk. That becomes a habit. Later on, if you don't get up at 5:30, you'll feel very, very guilty, So develop good habits. And if you make excellence itself into a habit, then everything that you do in life, you want to make it well. Now, it is very humbling. I thought this idea was mine, making excellence a habit. And the name of the book, after thinking about 50 different names, I will find, somebody has published something somewhere. So we can't copy it. So then finally, Penguin did a lot of research and said, this topic seems to be good. Nobody has published a book on this, making excellence a habit. They liked it. And that is how this was selected. On the day of the launch, the book was being released. One of the VIPs who was saying that said, Aristotle has already said this in 300 BC. I said, what? Aristotle talked about making excellence a habit. Then I Googled and I found Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So there you are. He has already said it 2000 years ago. And I think I'm saying something new. Okay. So that is the thing about truth. It doesn't change. 2000 years later also, excellence will still be a habit. Okay. I tribute to Aristotle for thinking of this 2000 years ago. We think we are being very novel. Okay. Now let me try to share some of the secrets of the success mentioned in my book. Now I'm not showing you all the chapters. I'm just picking a few chapters here and there. Chapter number 4 is on the magic of serendipity. Now what is serendipity? Serendipity means that you casually meet somebody somewhere and you think, it's just I met somebody. From there, it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. I talk about a story in this where I met somebody when I went to a conference in Barcelona. He was in another meeting, I was in another meeting, and we just met in the restroom during the break, coffee break. We just met in the restroom. As we were coming out, he asked me, what's your name and where are you from? I said, I'm from India and thing. Then it just started a casual conversation like this, and he gave me his card. From there, it developed to common friends, to this, to that, to that. And then finally, it resulted in a research grant, which was funded by the US for 15 years. Can you imagine, for 15 years? And where did I meet this guy? When I went to the restroom, I met him there. So that is serendipity. And it's not one, but several times in my life, just a casual acquaintance with somebody will start off a chain of things which will take you for years and years. So believe in serendipity, that God is giving you these little clues, pick up those clues and act on them. Focus is very important, because in my case, maybe it was over focus. I got into medicine to do diabetes. So you can imagine how I went through my second year and third year. When I learn anatomy of pancreas, I'll be fully interested. If I learn about some muscle insertion somewhere, I'll say, why the hell am I learning all this? What has this to do with diabetes? Upper limb and muscle is joined somewhere, something, so many insertions it has. I said, come on, this is crazy. I don't need all this, It's a very big bias, no doubt. So you ask me, is good or bad? I don't know. For me, it worked well. I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. I think you should be a complete all-rounder. But having said that, I did get a few medals, and I didn't, it's not at the bottom of the class. I was at the top of the class. But having said that, I always felt, no, diabetes is what I want. Diabetes is what I want. 50 years later, I've not changed. I'm still like that. So for me, this focus is something you should have a laser sharp focus. Then resilience. Resilience is very important. In life, will keep on falling down. Every time you fall down, 100 times you fall down, 101 times you should get up. That, if you're able to do, that is true resilience. If you think it'll be a smooth journey, forget it. You're not going to have a smooth journey. Life was never meant to be a smooth journey. Okay. Passion is very important. You should love what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, you won't bring your best to it. And if you don't bring your best, how can you bring excellence into it? So love what you do and do what you love. If you're not interested in medicine, quit. Go to something else. If you're really interested in music, then become a good musician. Become another Jesdas, become A.R. Rahman, be somebody else. Don't be a mediocre doctor. On the other hand, if medicine is what you're supposed to do, become the best in the world in that. What's going to stop you from becoming the best in the world? And whatever you do, you try to be the best in the world. Now, even if you're not the best in the world, at least you become excellent in whatever to your capacity. God gives different people different capacities. To that capacity, you do your excellence. And that you'll only do if you have passion. Then the power of grit. You must have belief in yourself and you must have grit. Otherwise, you won't succeed. Dare to dream big. I'll show you how my journey went, from nothing, from scratch. And I did it twice also. You must dare to dream big, because only if you dare to dream big, you will really make it. Then the next thing is sharing your knowledge. Today, I'm telling you so many things. By doing that, I'm sharing all my secrets with you. Okay. I believe that by doing that, I will only grow in the process. Just because I give you my knowledge, I'm not going to, become anything less than that. I'm going to only grow in the process. So you should also be like that. I find many people are so suspicious of their peers. No, then he will beat me and he will go. No, nothing will happen. You will only grow better in that. Okay. Failure is never final. You're going to have failures. I have failed so many times. I've got a chapter on failures in my book also. This is a chapter, 11 chapters on that. Never let people discourage you. There'll be always somebody who will say, this won't work, I say. Idalla chumma you're thinking, it'll never happen. If you believe in it, go ahead. Power of collaboration. Okay. The whole life is about collaboration and networking. The more you collaborate, the more you network, you will build on that and something bigger and bigger will come. And there's so many examples I'll show you in this talk also. Now, how did my research journey start? I told you that when I started with my father, I told him I have to do research and do it right now, not after I finish MBBS and so on. So at that time, my father's clinic was something like, not a clinic, but he had a car shed, which looked something like this. This is not the real picture. I just took it from the net, but something like this. It was hardly used. No car was also parked there. All cobwebs were there. Snakes were there. Bats were there. All kinds of things. Rats were there. That is the kind of thing I had. So I told my father, this I'll convert into a lab. He said, okay, take it, convert it into a lab. So I bought mice. I bought cages. I hired a PhD and said, no, let's start off serious research. This is not chumma research. One case report I publish. It's not that. So I want to do serious research. So we started actually as a second year. I was only 18 years old. I was sitting and doing, research. And people said, are you crazy? You will fail in your anatomy exam. I said, no, this is fascinating for me. I have to do this, So this is how we started. And so many people today tell me, you were born with a golden spoon. When you were born itself, you had all research. Your father was a researcher. He was a thing. What for you? You don't have anything. Well, this is what my father had when I started with him. And it is not that I had a ready-made lab all built up and I just moved in there. And no, it is not like that. We have to start from scratch. There were no electronic records. There was nothing. We had to go through all the case sheets. I would sit and read all his case sheets, take notes from that. It was a very painful process, but I enjoyed it. That was my passion. So that's me. When I was doing my anatomy, you can see the sideburns and all that at that time. And of course, this is a much later picture. This is when I was in Germany. That's my father. When he came to visit me as an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow, that is considered a very big honor. Many of the Alexander von Humboldt Fellows went on to get Nobel Prizes and so on. So I was one of the few doctors from India to have been selected for the Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship. So I was doing that. But when I started in second year, 18 years of age, I did not know all this. With my father, I was doing clinical work. And then with Dr. Lalita Kameshwaran, I was doing in the MMC in Madras Medical College, I was doing experimental work. And here is one such example of my very early work. It was published in 1978. Those days, to publish a paper, it will take 3-4 years. If you send a thing to the journal to acknowledge itself, it will take 1 year. Then only they'll start review process. Then once I accept it, it takes another 2 years to publish, to come in the print. So this is all work I did in 1974, 73, 74, when I was hardly 18, 19 years old. We were working on dogs, and I was operating on dogs, making them diabetic, and then removing only part of the pancreas. So, and then giving, for the first time, trying out drugs like glibenclamide and penformin, which is there, and seeing whether the combination works better than a single. It's all clinically applied work, but doing it in the animal model. And we are able to show that, and the same thing in clinical studies with my father also is doing. So it is a nice combination of clinical and experimental work. And now you may think, only one paper or something he published. No. I went on publishing. 71 was pre-medical. 72 I joined anatomy physiology. By 74 I was already publishing. You will say, why are you last author? My father had a funny thing. He said, you are the junior most, so you will be the last. I am the senior most, I will be the first. That is how he used to think. Actually, the junior most should be the first author. And now you will see in all my subsequent papers where I'll be the first and others will be the last. But that was my father's rule. So, and Subramaniam was a professor whom we hired to do the PhD, I told you. I was working with him. And so you can see that the number of papers went on. I've not even finished MBBS. This is all during MBBS days. 77, 78 only I finished my house agency. Then it went on. You can see by that time how many papers are coming. And then 79, 80, 81, I did my MD. So during that time, you can see everything is working on. See, I was working with Professor Thanikachalam in cardiology. Immediately, we looked at left ventricular dysfunction and diabetes. There, one paper will come. Whatever you're working on, we'll write off a paper on that. Very nice, it was to combine clinical and research while as a student. So by the time I finished my another one on subclinical diabetic cardiomyopathy, systolic time intervals, echo had not even come at that time. This is a pre-echo days. And by the time the more newer insulins had come. So by the time I finished my MD, 81, I finished my MD. By the time I already had 30 papers. And if you add the ones which came published later, maybe about 40 papers came during my MBBS and postgraduate and MD. Very few of my teachers in MMC at that time had that many papers. And I was only like 22, 23 years old and already had that many papers, many as first author also, as you can see. So it is a very big lift in my life. And looking back, I've asked many of my foreign collaborators, how many of your students during postgraduation have got 30, 40 papers? I've not heard of anybody who has had that. So it's probably a record at that time itself. Then I went on working. 81, I finished my MD. Up to 91, I worked with my father. So 20 years, I worked with my father. First 10 years as student, next 10 years as full-time consultant. In that 10 years, almost about 200 papers or more than that. I think about 250 papers I published in the next 10 years, which is again a record. But I was only 38, and by 38, I had already finished 250 to 300 papers I had published. And that institution had become big. From that car shed kind of a place, it had become an international center of excellence. But then I found that things were getting difficult. Because my father is growing old. He had already retired from Stanley, remember. And now 20 years after that, he was slowing down, and I was, a precocious start. So by 38, I was like 58 years old as far as, my experience and so on is concerned. So I wanted to accelerate, and he wanted to decelerate. So I said, you know what, I'm going to leave. I have to go on my own. This is not working out. I have to go on my own because right now is my peak and I have to leave. He said, okay, if you're going to leave me, you will take your stethoscope and leave. I will not give you anything, not even your books, not even your journals, nothing, no case sheets, no money. You start on your own and let us see how good you are, he said. I said, okay. And that's when my wife's, thing came in. She said, Mohan, we can do it. We don't need anything. We don't need money. We don't need paying. We don't need anything. We will do it. We'll start from scratch all over again. We will start and we will make it as a big success. I was scared initially because I'd already built up 20 years of work. And now I'm leaving everything and starting all over again. So that's what happened. Now that's the small clinic that we started in Roypeta High Road. I went away to another part of the city. He was in North Madras. I went to South Madras. And a small building, we took only few rooms we had. That's my father. He only came to inaugurate. He said, I'll come to inaugurate. That's it. After that, you're on your own. That's my grandfather, actually. I got his blessings. And that's my wife, you can see in the end there. And that's my daughter, who's now the managing director. That's how old she was. She was 10 years old at that time when we started. Okay. And that's my youngest brother, Vijay, who now runs my father's old hospital. Okay. So he came, he inaugurated. At that time, I had not even one patient. Then I started with my first patient. Then we had 3 doctors who came with me from Royapuram. Of course, one was my wife and one was me. And then, of course, I had one more doctor who had joined me at that time, who's now heading our Andhra branches, Dr. Shastri. So with just 3 of us, we started and we said, let's start from scratch. Okay. But we had 20 years experience. So I knew what all mistakes I had made. So this time growth was, very, very, very fast. Today, I'll cut the fast forward now, instead of telling you which year, what I did and all that. Today, we are in 8 states of India. It's the world's largest chain of diabetes centers. We have 50 branches. We have 1,400 staff who work for us. We are in Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, Odisha, and Bengal. And we are expanding in these places and probably going to other places. Northeast, we are about to start another one in Assam. So we are growing and growing. And today we have 500,000 patients. This is the world's 500,000 diabetic patients. This is more than the top 10 diabetes centers or clinics in US put together. If you take Joslin, Mayo, Stanford, Yale, you take all of them put together, the top 10, they are less than what we have done. And this is just exactly in 30 years time that we have achieved this. So it's now 50 years since I have entered the medical college in 1971. We see about 1,000 to 1,300 patients. It's one of the world's largest OP outpatient clinic. We have inpatient beds, and we have 130 doctors who work for me now. And out of that, we have a few ophthalmologists and a few, surgeons and foot surgeons and so on. Almost 75 diabetologists are there. It's the world's largest chain of diabetologists working together. Now, what makes us special and why did we grow so fast? We said we want to be the best in everything. So if you take the lab, it must be the best. If you take that is where the excellence comes in. That's my wife, treating somebody with the laser. We were the first to introduce eye into a diabetic clinic because that's why she did a PhD and all. We brought in the foot clinic. We brought dental, heart, radiology, nutrition, physical activity, yoga, stress, precision diabetes. Using our genetics department, we can diagnose about 45 different types of diabetes and decide which one needs to be treated how. No one in India had all this. There are only 3-4 centers in the world which have it. We went and learned all that and then started innovating and starting on our own. Of course, we have operation theater, inpatient, diabetology, pharmacy, everything. We call it as total diabetes care. So naturally, everything we were the first. And so we became the world's first ISO 9000 certified diabetes center, first in Asia to do retinal photography and grading, first in Asia to introduce electronic records, first in Asia to introduce a high fiber rice, first in India to introduce a glycemic index testing lab, first precision diabetes center, not only in India but also in Asia. And then recognition started coming. If you take Week Magazine, Times of India, Healthcare Summit, ICICI Lombard, OPPI Award, CNBC, Times of India, so many, India Today, the list is just small. 7 times in a row, we have been voted the best diabetes center. 7 times in a row, we have been voted the best diabetes center. So every year, again and again and again and again, they are voting us as the best diabetes center in India. So it comes, recognition comes when you do good work and your excellence is seen. Now let me switch tracks and go to research. I told you research was my passion. And when I left my father, I had about 250 to 300 publications. It was already India's #1. Nobody was there anywhere near when I left. But then I had to take a 5-year break because I had nothing. I had no research. I had nothing. I didn't even have patients. I didn't have a clinic. I didn't have anything. I told you I left my father in 1991. Up to 1996, my research almost stopped. 5 years, there's a gap. There is no research. Then in 96, my wife and I decided, okay, now we have built up some patients, something, let's start again. And this is where we really, in fact, one of the reasons my father also, didn't agree with me was, I told him I want to build a very big research foundation, research center. He said, how will it survive? It's a private center. How will it survive? Where will we get the funds from? I said, all that will come. We have to do. He didn't agree. He said, no. Take the patient notes, and that he didn't even get me a computer when I wanted. When I left him in 91, we didn't have computers there. I said, without computer, how can you do research? He said, all these days, how did you do research? You don't need a computer. I said, okay, this is not going nowhere. I'm going to buy computers. I'm going to start on my own. And that's how from day one, I started computer. So what happened was 96, when we wanted to start, there was no place. So what we did was we said, okay, one small room in the hospital itself will convert into a lab. Now, this was this is in our hospital, that building which I showed you initially, the hospital. There was a small toilet there. It's a small building. So my administrator said, this one you can take. I said, what? Toilet you're asking me to take as research? No, we don't have any other room. I said, okay, I'll start in the toilet. Okay. So we convert the toilet into a lab. As you can see, we bought some cylinders, we bought some equipment and all that. With minimal support, we started our own funding. We didn't have any funding from anywhere. From the hospital itself, my own earnings, my own salary, we put it, and then we started it. But I hired one PhD. Like when I started also, I had a PhD. I said, to do serious research, I need a PhD. So I hired this time a very smart young PhD. With her, we started going. And then the growth was, exponential, even faster than the hospital's growth. Today, the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation is in, MDRF is in 4 locations. Now, I showed you that building in the beginning. That's where I'm keeping the cursor now. That is a big building which you saw in my opening slide. That is a hospital. Next to that, there was a vacant piece of land. We bought that land in the Research Foundation name and put up a building there. When you put up the building, the ICMR DG came and Director General came and inaugurated it. And I had the chairman of one of the big hospitals in Chennai, who was a visionary himself. He came also for the inauguration. They both told me, why are you putting up an entire building for research? Isn't it a waste? Make half into beds and half into the hospital, into research. I said, no, sir. I believe that I need this much space. Are you sure? This is what my father also said. You're crazy. You're mad. All that they told me. I said, no, I feel that this is correct. We should do that because I'm going to expand my research. Within 4 years, that same DG, 3 years or 4 years, the same DG came and inaugurated a 40,000 square feet facility in a 6.5 acre campus in Siruseri. That's the one I just showed you. Now, at that time, he came and said, this is unbelievable. That day, I told you that is too much. Now you're built 40,000 square feet in 6.5 acres, and I'm still the DG. I'm as a DG, I've come twice to your place. This I have never seen anywhere, Mohan. This is out of the world for me. Not only in India, nowhere in the world I've seen anybody do this privately. You have done all. Then we've added 2 more, a clinical trials unit, a food and research, nutrition research. Today, we collaborate with so many universities. I'll show you. We are recognized by WHO, International Diabetes Federation, ICMR, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology. PhD alone, to get PhD from our students, we have Madras University, we have Tamil Nadu MGR University, we have Deakin University in Melbourne, and we have Warwick University in UK. 4 universities our students can get PhD from. Okay, and remember, this is a standalone research center. It is not funded by the government, not funded. We don't have any other support. Simply we built it from scratch. The number of publications have been rapidly increasing. We have never slowed down, except that 5 years when I could not do. If I had those 5 years also added, I would have gone somewhere. But because I had to completely stop my research because I didn't have anything. But then we started accelerating. Today, the number stands at 1,434. This is a world record by any doctor in any specialty who's in practice. Maybe there is some university nutrition professor or somebody who's doing 365 days doing research. For me, remember, I'm doing practice. I'm still seeing patients. I'm doing administration. I'm running centers. I'm doing research. I'm doing education, as I'll show you. On top of that, I'm doing research. So in spite of that, in India, medical doctors in any specialty, even if you take AIIMS, PGI Chandigarh, you can take any of the full-time research institutes, nobody has been able to do this. So 1,434, 939 original articles and 281 editorials and 214 chapters in textbooks with a H index of 139 and citations of 152,000. This H index tells you the quality of the publications. There is only one, in all humility, I'd like to say, there's only one scientist in India who's ahead of me in the H index, and that is a famous Professor C.N.R. Rao from Bangalore, who is considered India's greatest scientist. And he got the Bharat Ratna, as you know. He got Bharat Ratna along with Sachin Tendulkar in 2014, the year when the Modi government came. They gave it to him. I'm only slightly behind C.N.R. Rao, but I'm catching up very fast with him. I hope in a year or two, by next year, I think I'll overtake him and become the number one in India. Now, this is in all sciences put together. He's a chemical engineer. So, and earlier he worked in Indian Institute of Science. Now he has his own government-funded Jawaharlal Institute of Basic Research in Karnataka. And he's also 92 years old. He's almost 24 years older than me, and he's still publishing. He's still active and he's still publishing. He's got a 24-year lead over me, but I'm catching up. I hope by next year, 2022, I'll overtake. I already overtook him in the citations. Citations I've overtaken him. Total number, he's little ahead of me. He's 1,100 or something, because 25 years more he has over me. And H index, he's slightly ahead of me, but citations I've already overtaken him. So the journals include Nature, New England Journal, Lancet, Nature Medicine, Cell, Nature Genetics, Nature Reviews and Technology, Lancet Diabetes, Diabetes Care. In fact, Lancet itself, I published in Lancet Public Health, Lancet Global Health, Lancet Planet Earth, Lancet Diabetes Endocrinology, and Lancet. There's only a small list, almost about 150 journals we have published. There are about 25 diabetes journals in the world. I published in all of them. There's none left. Every journal in the world in diabetes, about 5 are listed here, but I published in all of them. There's no journal left in diabetes. Collaborations include from all over the world, from University of Dundee, Leicester, with Imperial College London. McMaster University is a very big collaboration with Salim Yusuf. This is the one which got me the papers in Lancet and New England Journal. University of California, San Francisco, Harvard School. This is also Harvard School of Public Health is again a very, very important one. Emory University, I've got a very close friend. Last 15 years, Dr. Venkat Narayan and I have been collaborating. Deakin University, I already told you, up to PhD we have with them. Moorfields Eye Hospital, University of Warwick, again for PhD we are. So we have now, you can see it's expanding. Every year we are adding more and more. They come to us. We don't even go to them. They come to us and say, we want to collaborate. They see our publications and then they come. So that's another point I want to tell you, youngsters. You don't have to run behind. If your quality is good, they will come to you. Okay. Now, you think Neeraj Chopra has to go anywhere? Whole India is waiting to, to receive him because he reached that height. Once you reach that, it's very easy. And then collaborations in India, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, All India Institute, Delhi, these two are very constant. Then Shankar Nethralaya, PIMS, PGI, CDC, Delhi, and many, many others, including my old hospital. With my brother also, I'm collaborating. We're still continuing, St. John's, and so on and so forth. Now, charity is something which is very close to us. When I left my father, my wife and I discussed, and we said, unless we do charity, what is the point in making more money? So we said, let us, start free clinics. So I work very closely, as you may know, I am a central trust member of the Sri Sathya Sai organization. After Bhagwan Sathya Sai Baba, he set up the central trust. And that trust has 9 people, which runs all the colleges, the universities, the hospitals, all the charitable clinics, organizations, everything is run by Central Trust. There are 9 people, and I'm the only doctor there in that. So we run 2 free diabetic clinics in Chennai, 1 in my center in my father's name, and then we have a big mobile hospital, the huge one, mobile hospital project with Sathya Sai organization in Tamil Nadu. More than 10,000 patients are receiving lifelong free treatment. They keep on coming to us, including these auto rickshaw drivers who come and they have, everything is given free to them. Lots of juvenile diabetes. This is a very outdated slide. About 400 or 500 children are receiving lifelong free treatment. We also do free eye camps at Sai Kripa along with the Sathya Sai organization. And then we do free laser, free cataract surgery. All this is being done by us. We have done more than 3,000, 4,000 free diabetes camps. Now, this is my wife, and when she was alive, she said, what is one thing missing, Mohan? That is rural. whatever we are doing is in the urban area. Unless we go to the rural areas and do something, we have not really made an impact in India. So I said, how do we go to rural areas? Which doctor will go? How can we ask doctors to go to rural areas? Just as we were thinking this, a zamindar of a village in near Kanchipuram, you'll be knowing this, I think, Chunampet. Zamindar of that place, he called me and he said, come and see me, as if he heard our conversation. This is God's, help. So I said, why should I come to Chunampet? And where is Chunampet? He said, no, it's, it's about 120 kilometers from Chennai. You just come. I said, why? Why do you want me to come? I want to give you some land. I've heard of the great work you're doing. I want to give you some land. Then I said, okay, I'll come. So I went. When I went, he told me, suppose I give you about 9 acres of land. What will you do with it? I said, if you're going to give it to me free, I'll obviously treat everybody free. Why should I have got other centers to make money? Why should I, charge here? So he gave me the land. I then went to the World Diabetes Foundation and they gave me the van to go to various villages. This is a van. I'll show you the van. This is a van. And then this is from the World Diabetes Foundation director, Ulrich Nielsen, who came. Then the International Diabetes Federation gave us recognition. This is the president of the International Diabetes Federation. ISRO gave us a satellite. So one by one, people started giving all this. And then we went to villages like this. We selected about 42 villages. Chunampet was a base, and around that, we took these young, men and women who are high school dropouts. They have not even studied, and so we gave them jobs. We trained them how to do, blood sugar, blood pressure, check everything. You can see they're wearing gloves. They take informed consent. They do everything. We completely trained them in Chennai, and then we put them there. And so the Rural Diabetes Project started. So they are taken, if they have diabetes, the person can go into the van, which is parked near the house. Everything can be tested there. Eyes can be tested, feet can be tested, nerves can be tested, ECG can be tested. Then if a picture is taken like this, via internet or via satellite, the picture comes immediately to our center in Gopalapuram in Chennai, where the diabetologist, the ophthalmologist, is now talking to that lady sitting inside the van and telling her what we have done, what is cataract, what is diabetic retinopathy. Now, the Zamindar gave us that land. There we built this building, okay? And this is Dr. Rakesh, who was a GP practicing there. We took him, trained him, and put him there. And now he is running that center for us. And the building cost was donated by my wife and myself. From our own salary, we donated and put up the building there. And everything was done free of cost. We registered it as a total charity. Now, what happened was, not only these 42 villages, but many of the other villages around, the van will go and teach them what is diabetes, education. So 2 lakh people we were able to train in 3 years, the population. And then all the adults of the villages, these 42 villages, we were able to screen for diabetes. We got data on the complications, retinopathy, neuropathy, nephropathy, cardiovascular disease, peripheral vascular disease. And first, the rural data from India came out. And most importantly, what happened was, the HbA1c of all these villages, we use low-cost metformin, low-cost sulfonylureas. And with that, the sugars came down. Now, at the end of, this is the first time that in rural India, such a project had been done. So I'm not showing you, but the Lancet wrote about it. A Discovery Channel, covered it. Then the BBC covered it. Le Monde, the French newspaper, covered it. There's a book called Jugaad. You should read that book, Jugaad. It's all about innovation in India. And Ratan Tata and all have written about it. So there we had a full chapter on the Chunampet project. So the Chunampet project suddenly became famous. What I had told the Zamindar was, when you called me, I didn't know where Chunampet is. In another 10 years' time, Chunampet will become world famous. And it did become world famous because every channel was showing it. Lancet had written about it. So it became a major success story. And this is something which my wife and I had wanted to do. And we are very happy. It still continues. The support from the World Diabetes Foundation was only for 3 years. Today, for the last 12 years, 14 years, we are now doing this project, and it will continue. For almost 10 to 12 years, we lost money there. We were making losses. Anybody would have said, close it. We continued. We said, doesn't matter. It's not a loss. We are helping the poor people. So it went on. Today, it is actually making slight profit, and that profit is used for treating more poor people. So we developed this model where 1 rupee will not come to me or my family at any time. but it will be put back into the society. Now, just a few words about the Education Academy. Now, to sustain our branches and to have growth, you need to train people. How can I go to 50 branches and what will I do? So we started the Education Academy. This Education Academy trains not only doctors, but all paramedical people. This is just a small list of the courses that we provide. Fellowship in Diabetes, Eye Disorders, PG Diploma in Education, Laboratory Technology, Physician Association. Now we added many more. Yoga, Nutrition, Physical Activity, Research, Fellowship, BSc, MSc, PG Diplomas. So many courses, almost like a mini university around diabetes. I don't know of any other center in the whole world which offers so many courses on diabetes. And these are not small. They are all in very large numbers, as I will show you. And that's what I want to show you next before I finish. This is called as a snowball effect. Now, this is a very important chapter. This is a chapter in my book called Snowball Effect. What I'm saying there is, whenever you start something, you're not sure whether you'll succeed or not. So don't start in a big way. With my father, I started in a car shed. Okay, when I started again on my own, I started in a small rented building. Okay, well, I'll show you one by one what we did. Clinics. Started in a small clinic. Then once it became very successful, one more floor we took. Then what we did was an adjacent building. We took that one. Then we built our hospital, which is the one I showed you in the first picture. We built our own hospital. Then we said, okay, why only Gopalapuram? Can we start somewhere else? So we went to Anna Nagar and started a branch there. When that became successful, we said, can we try something outside Chennai? So we tried one in Hyderabad. Today we have 7 branches in Hyderabad. We have 9 branches in Chennai. We have 5 branches in Bangalore. Each one started as one experiment. When that works, then we start building on that. And as I said, today we have 52 branches in 8 states and 32 cities. But where did we start? In 1 or 2 small rooms we started. That is a snowball effect. Take research. MDRF I showed you. In the toilet we started. From there we added more rooms. Then we built that first building which I showed you. The DG came and inaugurated. Then we went to Siriseri campus. Now we are in 4 locations with all these scientists. Again we started in a toilet. In a small room only we started. If you take mentorship, how did we start? First, it was just 2 fellows who came for joining. Then 4 fellows, then 8 fellows. Today, I have about 30, 35 fellows who are at any given time getting trained by us. But then we started other courses, as I just showed you. Then we've collaborated with the Public Health Foundation of India and started the CCEBDM course, the Certificate Course in Evidence-Based Diabetes Medicine. This became the world's largest training course. Main Lancet wrote about this course. Then we started other courses on GDM, on retinopathy, on so many courses we started. Then we started with Deakin University, Warwick University, PhD courses, nurses, educators course, all that. Currently, we have trained 16,000 physicians in India and 12,000 nurses and diabetes educators all over India. In about 130 cities in India, we have trained. But it all started with the first 2 fellows whom I took. So another snowball effect. Last is research. We started only with the hospital, clinical data, when I was with my father. Then we started a small epidemiological study. We said we should go out into the field and see how non-diabetics look like, because we don't have non-diabetic data. So we started, it's called Chennai Urban Population Study, CUPS. Only 2 places, only about 1,500 people, not representative of Chennai. It's a relatively lower or weaker study. Then we went to Cures. Cures is a fantastic study. 26,000 people, whole Chennai studied. That one study, Cures, has produced 153 papers. 153 papers. When I mention numbers of papers, you should know roughly what it means. 153 papers from one study. You know what an average scientist, forget about doctors. Doctors don't even publish anything. In the whole lifetime, they may not. As I said, my teachers did not even have 20 papers, 30 papers. Leave that. If you take a good scientist working Indian Institute of Science, or Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, one of the IIT Madras or IIT Delhi, you take those scientists. In a lifetime, they publish about 60 to 70 papers. 100 is rare. For a scientist in a whole lifetime, 30, 40 years, 100 is rare. We are now publishing at the rate of 80 to 100 in 1 year. 80 to 100 papers in 1 year. In the COVID year, we had 80, 85 papers we published. So that's the rate at which we are publishing. And all in top journals, as you can see. Not in some antiseptic or something. We're publishing in Nature and New England Journal. Okay, it's not impossible. If you set your mind, it's not impossible. Then from Cures, we went to the whole country. This is ICMR India Diabetes Study, INDIAB study. All the 30 states and all the union territories in India were studied, urban, rural, representative sample of India's 1.32 billion people, with a sample size of 124,000 people. This is the world's largest epidemiological study. China has not done it. US has not done it. Nobody has done it. Of course, this is funded by the government. This is funded by Government of India, but we are doing it. We are the PI for that. My daughter's idea, actually. So she is the main coordinator, but I am the national PI for this. Every state we work with different collaborators. We have to work with all the states in India, from Gujarat to Rajasthan to Madhya Pradesh to Jharkhand to Chhattisgarh to all the northeastern states, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram. We've been everywhere, and there we have the epidemiology of all that, not just diabetes, but hypertension, obesity, cholesterol, heart disease, everything. In all these states we have produced, and that's a fantastic study that we have done. But see where we started. We started a small one. Today we are in the pure study, the prospective urban rural epidemiology study. Now this is not my own study. It is Professor Salim Yusuf from McMaster University, whom I told you. He is the world's greatest scientist today. In number one, he stands in the world, in the world in any specialty. So he has many such studies like Pure, because he is funded heavily by the Canadian government. And so in Pure itself, we have 25 countries, 250,000 people, 5 continents, followed for 20 years. And India started it. He's an Indian. So we started it in India, and we were among the first to enter. So we are part of Pure. This evening I have a call with Pure. So this is going on. Then we started CARS, we started other studies. I'm just naming one or two. We have many, with all those universities collaborations. Naturally, the numbers come, and very, very high quality research comes. So I'm going to end with 2-3 quotes. What I'm going to say is that there is no limit to human endeavor. If you think, we have achieved everything in life, I've achieved nothing. What I've started is only tip of the iceberg. It's only a drop in the ocean. The best is yet to come. So much more still remains to be done. And I'd like to tell you the story of Habibi Bekele. Now, today in the Olympics, whenever a long distance runner comes, it has to be an Ethiopian. We know that every time Ethiopian wins. But this is the first Ethiopian who ever ran in 1960 in the Olympics, where he ran, and he didn't have even money to buy a shoe. So he ran barefoot. He was so poor. He just came. Somebody picked him up somewhere. He came and ran, and he won the marathon. He won the marathon by such a long distance that you run on the road, and then you finally enter the stadium. When you entered the stadium and finished 3 rounds in the stadium, the second fellow had not even entered the stadium. And then he showed his leg. He had a big hole in his leg because he's running barefoot on the road. He developed a hole. With that, he was running. Okay. Next Olympics, he came back. By the time he had shoe and all that, you can see somebody has given him a shoe and he's become a little better off. He won the marathon again, second marathon. Okay. Nobody had ever won a marathon twice. He came back again after 4 years. And this time, of course, he pulled a muscle and he lost, right? Growing quite old. Now, the president of Ethiopia gave him a car and said, okay, now you deserve a car. I'll buy you a car. So he bought a car. He was driving that car in UK and he had an accident. And after having the accident, he became paralyzed, became paraplegic. He was hit in the neck. And from his lost power of his hands, power of his legs, and he was bedridden. He was not even able to get up. Then slowly the hands recovered, but legs, paraplegia never recovered. He became paraplegic for life. But now he is able to sit in the wheelchair. Sitting in the wheelchair, since his hands were okay, he learned a new sport, archery. Okay, and he became an archery champion. Okay, can you beat a man who's become paraplegic, who's quadriplegic first, and now still paraplegic, sitting in the wheelchair? Man who used to run the marathon, now sitting in the wheelchair with only his hands that he can use and becoming an archery champion, So these are all, and he's just an ordinary Ethiopian guy. He's not anybody born with some, 2 horns or something like that. It just shows that there is no limit to human endeavor. If you think big, if you dare to dream big, that's why I said dare to dream big, you can do it, okay? But excellence is like a mirage. It'll keep moving. By the time you reach there, it is not there. See, have you seen on a hot road, mirage? You'll feel like, oh, water is there, water is there. When you go there, there's no water there, but it is moved somewhere else. That is called as a mirage. In the desert, you'll think there is water there. When you go there, there's no water there. So it's like a mirage. It'll keep moving. Excellence is like that. By the time you reach something, the standard has been raised. That is like doing high jump or doing pole vault or something like that. The moment you clear one height, they will raise the bar again and say, now you clear this one. If you clear that, they'll raise the bar again, because human excellence is they're trying to improve it more and more and more. If you're a true leader and a true visionary, you have to keep raising the bar higher and higher and higher. It is, Mr. Haksar, Ajit Narayan Haksar, the chairman of ITC, he said this: excellence is paying the maximum attention to the minutest detail. If you have a minute detail, if that also you fix it properly, excellence will come. Naturally, it will come. If you tend to ignore the way you write, the way you speak, the way you arrange your slides, the way you think, you will never achieve excellence. So, minutest detail is very important. So, the take-home messages from this talk are: practice excellence in everything you do. Small or big doesn't matter. You may not be achieved. You may not be able to. God may not have designed you to do very big things, but in the small things you do also, you practice excellence, and then soon you'll stand out. Slowly, excellence will become a habit, because one by one, without that excellence, you don't do it. So Natesh, when he called me, he said, "Can you join few minutes earlier?" Of course, I joined few minutes earlier. However busy I am, if you have said 12 o'clock, I won't join at 12:01. I'll join at 11:45. Okay, that is part of excellence. Joining, meeting the people, doing this, whatever. Now I've got many more meetings today. In all those meetings, I'll be on time. Okay, that is a mark of excellence. Punctuality is a mark of excellence. We just now finished our 3-day update. 9 o'clock in the morning on Friday we start. 8:59 we are all waiting, and we said, yeah, 9. Now we start. Usual conferences you go, you'll be running 1 hour late, 2 hours late. We don't go more than 5 seconds late. 1 minute is too much for us. We'll never go 1 minute late. Similarly, when we ended the meeting on the third day, we said 2 o'clock we will finish. Exactly at 2 we finished. It was not 2:01. Okay. So that is another mark of excellence. Whatever you do, it will become excellent. Jagdish Chandra Bose, J.C. Bose, said, when one dedicates himself or herself wholly for a great cause, it must be a noble cause. It's not I want to become famous, I want to become rich, I want to become... That will never take you places. You should get that in the process of planning something big. You should get the name and the fame and the money and so on. If your aim is to make that name, money and money, you will never make it. Okay, you will go down actually. So he said, when one dedicates himself wholly for a great object or cause, the closed doors shall open. He didn't say it may open. It will open, he says. And the seemingly impossible will become possible for him. When I was leaving my father, he told me, you will never make it. How will you build a research thing? Who's going to fund you? Even the DG of ICMR told me that, you won't be able to sustain this, Dr. Mohan. Chairman of a very big, a very famous hospital told me, make it half beds, you will not. I said, no, sir, I have a dream. And the dream is, even this won't be enough for me. That's what I said. They all told me, you're crazy. In fact, one chairman of a big pharmaceutical company is trying to impress him by telling him all this. He listened patiently. And then I told him, what? You're not saying anything. I think you should meet a psychiatrist, he said. I think you should meet a psychiatrist. I don't think all this is possible. You should meet a psychiatrist. He's a chairman of a big pharmaceutical company, I didn't get discouraged. I said, oh, that's what you think? Okay, that's not what I think. I have different plans, So, seemingly impossible will become possible if you believe in it and if you dedicate yourself to the cause. Jai Hind. And all this is done in India. This is not done in, US, Germany, some developed country. We are doing it in a very poor country. And we have done all this in India itself with very little resources. I didn't have a politician backing me. I didn't have a smuggler backing me. I didn't have anything. And we did it ethically. We didn't cheat anybody. Throughout our life, we never cheated anybody. But being honest, being straightforward, but having faith in God and having faith in yourself, self-confidence, and faith, most importantly, in your team. That's why I started by my team. And I said, it's they who do everything. If you do that, I think everything will be fine. So I'm going to stop here.
Thank you so much, sir.
Natesh Prabhu.
Thank you so much, sir. Because the last thing, it grabbed at least my attention. The last best thing, because I was listening, but you were so bravely told that I was not backed by any politician. And not because nowadays we tend to think that every huge investments will be some more backed by the black money of mafias, all the
I
politicians.
have no political inclination or interest. I've never been on any politician side at any time. I had help from, philanthropists who came, like the zamindar who gave me the land. I didn't even know him. He called me and he gave me. This is all God's grace. I mean, otherwise, how can you explain somebody who doesn't know you giving you? If you read my book, you'll read about the guy who wrote the check for me, the first check. He came as a patient. I've only met him once. I just met him previous day, and I go to him and he writes out a check, and I get it. Now, how did that happen? I mean, he's not a politician. He's not anybody. He was just chairman of a finance company, and he gave it like that. So I think it's God's grace. Ultimately, God's grace is very important. I think there are some questions you can ask that. Somebody has asked about hard work versus smart work. You can ask that, yeah.
So that's what, sir. So from Akirti Raj, she's asked where we can find reliable research papers.
Where you can find, is it?
Yeah.
Well, today, see, we are talking today of a generation where we can get anything at the touch of a button. You just go to computer and you type PubMed, you will get all the abstracts of you write diabetes, you write whatever you want, stress, you want something, India, whatever you want, you just type retinopathy, and you're going to get all the papers in one thing. Imagine when we were working, there was no computer, there was no Google, there was no internet, there was no Wi-Fi, there was nothing. If you wanted, you had to sit in the library. If a journal is available, then go through all the back thing of the journal, tick off some references, write it down longhand because there's no computer to type. So write it everything. Then where do we get this from? Then I'll write to Delhi, I'll write somewhere. You may get some 3-4 papers. Then you have to read those papers. Then that is how we did the research. The first 10-20 years, that is how it went. Up to 1991, I didn't even have a computer. That is how it went. Today, it is so easy. But then, the downside of that is people take it too easy now. Oh, I can cut paste from here and cut paste from there. No cut paste. You will be caught just like that. You will be caught. Today, any thesis, any paper is put through plagiarism check. They put it through the plagiarism check, and then they find out whether how much plagiarism is there. If you have plagiarized your research, you will be immediately, your editor will never publish in any other journal also after that. So it's not so easy. You will have to do it your own, original. You can get the references. What has been done, you can get the reference. So any good journal, you can easily pick it up in PubMed, Scopus, anywhere you want. Even Google, if you simply type out the thing, it will come.
Thank you, sir. That's what, because once you have mentioned on your book also, you went all through this National Institute of Library,
correct,
Delhi and all.
No, that's why I said Delhi. Yeah, I went there, sat there, and then for them to Xerox and give it to you, it will take 1 month. Yes. They will Xerox it, then I come back, then they'll post it. There is no courier those days. They'll have to send it by ordinary post. That will take 3 weeks to come from Delhi. That is how we got references those days.
That is true, because nowadays people lose a patience, even just by Googling also. That is there. Sir, Dr. Mohammed is asking your opinion versus hard work versus smart work, because we know that you are a very hardworking person. So how do you balance that?
I think both are important. Hard work, if you can make the smart work and hard work, it will be very good. It's a very good question, because people can be working 20 hours, but it's of no use. All that you did was totally waste because you're not planned your work. So working smartly, what will you do? What will you prioritize? What you won't prioritize? What are the urgent things to do? That sorting that out is very important. So that is smart work. I agree. Smart work is very, very, very important. But you think by working smart, you'll work few minutes and then the rest of the time you're relaxing, doing everything else, and you won't put in your full effort into it. You won't succeed. So I think both are important. Smart work is very important. But if you work smart and then work hard at it, then you'll be very successful. Whereas you're you're a bull worker, but you're doing all unnecessary things which is totally non-productive. I agree. Just by working hard, you cannot get that. But that smart work also, if you're a lazy fellow who thinks you can just work a little smart work and think, the number of you take any successful person, they would have put in hours and hours of hard work into it. There is no question. You take a musician, they would have been practicing. You take Neeraj Chopra, you would have been throwing. He broke his hand. He had to undergo elbow surgery. Just 3-4 years before, he couldn't, even his throwing, he kind of tore his elbow. And then he had to undergo a surgery. And from there, he had to come back. And then he had to again win the Olympics, gold. So nothing comes out of, there's a rule in Malcolm Gladwell's book that you need 10,000 hours to become perfect. 10,000 hours of work in whatever you do, whether it's Sachin practicing cricket or sports or music or poetry or whatever. You have to really put in your best. Nothing will come just like that. Oh, I'm a genius, I can just do it just like that. Some people are gifted. Let's say Ramanujam could write mathematical formulae, and when in England, he disproved the topmost mathematicians there. He disproved. Okay, and it will take days to do that kind of calculation, and he will tell in a minute, yeah, this is the answer. And then to prove whether it's right or wrong, they need 1 week to work on it. But he's giving the answer straight away. So they asked him. They wanted to give him FRS, and so they asked him, how did you do it? He said, I don't know. It's coming. They said, that is not acceptable. You'll have to tell us how you did it. He said, it's the truth. It just comes to me. So they said, how can it come to you? He said, I believe in goddess Namagiri. He used to, pray to goddess Namagiri. He said, goddess Namagiri tells me. They said, oh, if you are saying goddess Namagiri is telling you, we cannot give you FRS for that, He said, but that's the truth. She shows me the formula and I get it. They said, too bad. With that, we need scientific explanation. You cannot tell us goddess Namagiri told you and all that, So he didn't get FRS. First, they didn't give it to him because they knew he's right, but they thought somehow he's fudging or doing something. It was years later when they saw that everything which he said others were wrong was actually proved wrong and he was right, that they called him and gave him the FRS. But unfortunately, he died after that. He had TB, as you know. And at the age of 32 or 34, he died. So that is sheer genius. So those kind of, but even he worked hard. You can't say that Ramanujam didn't work hard. He also worked hard, but he had sheer genius. Shakuntala Devi, mathematical wizard. You give her any formula, go stretching to the whole room, she will tell you in 1 second. Those are inborn things. I'm nothing like that. I'm just ordinary guy who worked hard and came up. That's why I said hard work is right on top.
Similarly, like there is a thing about benzene ring structure, no, sir?
Who?
It came in the dream.
Who?
Benzene, the ring structure.
Yeah. It's not benzene. If you take the Banting, Frederick Banting, who discovered insulin, it came in a dream. October 31st, he was an ordinary, mediocre student. And after the Nobel Prize also, he did nothing. He got Nobel Prize. He was born to discover insulin. Okay, and he discovered it. On 31st of October, he was preparing for some lecture. His practice was a flop. Everything he was a flop. And as a student, he was a flop. So one day he was preparing for his lecture because get some money to take a class for pharmacology, physiology. He was preparing something. Suddenly in the night, he got something and he took a piece of paper and wrote something. Ligate the duct of pancreatic duct, take out the juice, inject it. Something and all came. He even spelled the diabetes wrong. It's there in my book. Diabetes he wrote. He didn't know the spelling of diabetes. Okay. He was an orthopedic surgeon. He didn't know anatomy of, he didn't know physiology of pancreas. He didn't know what was in the pancreas. He didn't know anything. But he had this dream. And with that, he became obsessed, saying, no, this is how I'll find out. And he was right. It's a stroke. Again, it's a God's gift, just like Ramanujam. And so he finally discovered insulin. After he discovered insulin, he got depressed. He didn't know what to do after that. At the age of 29, he's already got Nobel Prize, And unknown fellow, he couldn't even face the press. He couldn't talk. He's not a good speaker even, And so what he did was he tried some cancer research, something and all, flopped in everything. And then finally took up painting. And he started painting. He became Canada's one of the 6th best painter in Canada or something he became. Okay. But in medicine, he did nothing else. And then a few years later, in a plane crash, he died also at the age of 50. So see, his whole life is only for this insulin. And see his greatness. Although he was a crack, he was eccentric, he was everything. He fought with his boss. His boss and he were given the medal, Nobel Prize. He refused. He said, that fellow did nothing. I did everything. Best and I did everything. What did that fellow do? He went on holiday to Scotland. So he first refused a Nobel Prize. He said, I don't want Nobel Prize. Then finally, when Canada forced him to take it, he said, I won't go for a photograph with this fellow, so I'm not going to Sweden. I'm not going to collect the Nobel Prize. So he didn't go. He didn't collect the Nobel Prize also. Okay. He said, I cannot stand with him and have a photograph with him. Because everybody will come and say, both of you stand together. I will not stand with him. So for that, he didn't go. After getting Nobel Prize, he didn't go. Okay. Finally, what happened? He could have made a lot of money out of insulin. No? He said, insulin is not for me, it's for the world. So he donated the whole thing to University of Toronto. They said they'll give him $1. That $1 also they never give. He later said, at least that $1 they could give him, that they didn't give me. So he gave it free. Okay. So such an eccentric man, but such a good man on one side. He could have made millions out of it. He saved the lives of so many people. So that is why World Diabetes Day is November 14th. This is his birthday. That's why it's called World Diabetes Day. So they've all gone for a particular purpose and they've achieved that particular purpose. But nothing else in life they've done. That's it. Sheer stroke of genius. God has given it to them.
Thank you, sir. So there is one question from my own colleague here, Dr. Ganavi.
Yeah.
We consider, at least myself, so we are in a discussion. Every medical college is a potential CRO.
Yeah.
It has not been utilized properly.
Yeah.
So she is asking whether is there any possible collaboration with at least our college.
Why not? We are collaborating with so many colleges. Manipal, so many colleges. We have MOUs signed. Tamil Nadu Agriculture University we have signed. We have so many universities. So let us know how we can collaborate and what way we can help. I would be more than happy to help you to do that. Whenever there are courses, there are some training programs, you all can come and take part in that. Some of my people go out and teach also. In what way you want to do? You're right that each medical college has its catchment area. You have your villages around you. You've got an enclosed area where you can work. So you can definitely do great work. All you need is 1 or 2 dedicated people, 1 or 2 PhDs who can work and take this forward, and the passion and the interest. You will get money also. Once you apply to the government, they want medical colleges to do. There are rural units, rural health units under the medical rural research unit. There is some money for that. So government is trying to now encourage in many ways. So I don't think money should be an issue these days.
So before going to the next question, I have one personal request, because I have seen a lot of avenues in your diabetes profile. Regenerative medicine is missing in there.
What is missing?
Because regenerative medicine. I just want to ask this. Why? Because we are a very dedicated researchers working in the field of regenerative medicine.
Okay.
My mentor, Dr. Ravi, he's an orthopedician.
Okay.
He himself is working in the field of regenerative medicine for the past 10 years, along with his friend, Dr. Shankar Narayanan. They are in touch with your brother, Dr. Vijay, sir.
Okay.
So where we are given the platelet-rich plasma powder for a clinical trial, and Dr. Anil Bansali, who came for the meet. So we have the talk also, and we invited Dr. Anil Bansali for a meeting also. So what is happening with the regenerative medicine research, and why you're not able to get to the point of reversing diabetes with cell-based therapies?
I know my brother works on diabetic foot, so there, regenerative medicine can work, because you can put in those tissue growth factors and make the vessels grow, or to make the tissue come. For heart also has been done. For Parkinson's they've done. For spinal disorders they've done. The pancreas is a little more difficult. In fact, we're working on it. It's not that we didn't work on it. In a Sirseri unit, I had one postdoctoral scientist who worked on it. We produced from stem cells, we produced beta cells. Beta cells started growing. We found a dose response curve, insulin coming out. To that stage we went. Then we applied for funding, government funding. Up to that we could do with no funding. Then we really needed funding to take it to the next stage. We applied, government didn't give it to us. For us, to get funding from the government, they'll always say you're private, you're private, you're private. So it was some depends on who's sitting in the committee. So they didn't give it to us. Once we didn't get it, she tried for 1 year. Then she went and joined some pharma and she left us. With that, we had to close that department. So far, nobody has succeeded. But in Harvard, there's one Douglas Melton. So he is working on it. He has taken some patents. He's formed his own company to form beta cells. And so it is coming, but it's still very early stages. It may come. Today, we are not working on regenerative medicine and pancreas producing beta cell. We're not working much on that. The whole world is working on artificial pancreas. We're working on AI and building pumps and glucose sensors coming in, so that the body can regulate its own, the insulin when you put in, it can regulate it itself and produce beautiful blood sugar control. It's much simpler because the device is outside and you're not interfering with the body. And so that is progressing very, very fast. And so wearing something like this, a small thing, if you just wear it smaller than this, if you're able to regulate your sugars, why do you need the beta cell? Of course, it's not a cure. You're still giving insulin, but it's much easier, much safer. These regenerative things, the problem is that some of these stem cells, when you inject and make them into beta cells, they may grow into tumors, and a teratoma may form. They may produce hypoglycemia. People can die due to hypoglycemia. So lots of dangers are there in that. It's very expensive. You need millions and millions of dollars to do it. I don't have the kind of money power to do it. So my research is something which I can afford, which people can, change the lives of people immediately. Translational kind of work. Whereas real basic science, I will not be able to afford it. And in India also, it's difficult to get that kind of funding.
So if you, with the permission, I'll be asking my mentor to contact you over the mail, sir.
But if there is something which we can consider, please write to me, and I'm open to ideas. I'll be able to.
Thanks, sir. So I have a few questions on WhatsApp. If you have time, I can just run through that.
Please. Yeah.
From students. So they're asking, what keeps you competitive? Because from the book also, I saw that you're always competitive in your physiology exam.
Yeah.
I'm very curious, what went wrong there? Who got the prize? Anyway, it's a different question. So what keeps you competitive? Even I'm seeing now, your center and yourself are always first in everything.
Yeah.
At this age of 60, what keeps you competitive, sir? That's what.
So physiology prize was a very bad dream for me, because as you read, I was the only one who prepared. Others didn't even prepare. Others left the hall. They left off. So it was in fact, the supervisor even congratulated me. And then when it came, that guy, I don't want to say it, that the professor was against my father.
Okay.
So he had decided not to give it to me. That is why he had asked other fellows to come and write. He wanted one other person to write so that he can give the prize. If I had known it, I wouldn't have gone. I wasted 1.5 years of my life, but I still would not have gone for the exam if I knew he's going to do this. I didn't know. Finally, I broke down because I lost faith in humanity. I said, this is too blatant and too blunt. Somebody doesn't write anything and they get the prize, and I have written so much and then I don't get the prize. I mean, there's something. I told my father I'm quitting. Actually, I said enough is enough. If medicine is going to be like this, I can do something else.
I felt very bad reading that. So why
I went to a nervous breakdown, because for me it was a too big a shock. I'm a straightforward person, and for me it was too big. Of course, a prize is nothing. A physiology prize is nothing. But I prepared 1.5 years for it, and nobody, even only previous day, I told them to write the exam. They didn't even have 1 day to prepare, and then to give off the pen. 4 or 3 of them walked out. This fellow, I made him sit. I said, don't go. If you don't write something, at least 2 pages you write. Otherwise, you won't give me the prize. He was telling me, Udupa, I want to go. One of my, of course, he's a very bright guy. He got the best outgoing student ultimately. He's a very good guy. But in that prize, he didn't do anything. He came and fell at my feet. I felt very bad. He said, Manichidu Mohan. I said, you didn't do anything. தெரிஞ்சிருந்தா ஐயோ நான் வந்திருக்கவே மாட்டேன் மோகன். அந்த மாதிரி தெரிஞ்சிருந்தா எனக்கு கொடுக்க போறேன்னு தெரிஞ்சு நான் வந்திருக்க மாட்டேன். Because I know you deserve it. I wouldn't have written also. It happens in life. There are not everything is straightforward. Not everything is black and white. That is what life. That's why I said resilience, coming back after that. How many other times you fall, you should be able to come back. That is the thing.
So resilience keeps you competitive.
Resilience, correct. No, competition is because that is excellence. You want to be the best in whatever you do, But of course, for none of these prizes or these firsts that we went for it. We didn't say, Times of India, give us first prize in Solala. Once you do and you become excellent, it will come automatically.
Okay,
and the they'll have, when they look at the parameters, suppose they're doing research, who will have 1,400 papers? So automatically, there's no competition even there. Or they say how many branches they have, how many patients they have serviced. We are always on top, Unless we have stopped doing something, you're always on top. Again, some politics may come, they may not give us once. It's okay. It's all right. If somebody doesn't give it to us, that's okay. But
so you never focus on the outcome.
By merit, you should get it. By merit, you should.
You never focus on the outcome, no, sir.
Never focus on the process. Focus on what you're doing and make excellence a habit. Outcome is pretty obvious. It will come.
Yes. And how to start writing research paper? Because our students, they consider only exam-based writings. So how to inculcate that?
See, if you really want research to take off, and that is what we discuss in the higher levels in ICMR and all that, you should see. My daughter also had an opportunity like me. When she was in school itself, she started working with me. That is how she has reached. She has already got about 300 papers now at her age. She's doing extremely well, and the quality of her first 300 papers is much better than my 300 papers. I started with nothing, so she is in a different trajectory altogether. It's because she started very young. Okay. See, my son-in-law is also doing a lot of work. He does lots of reviews. He writes. Very brilliant man. He's a genius. But he didn't get the opportunity to work from school. Only after his MD, after he got married, he came. After MD only he came. So his research interest is more in writing chapters, more in writing some review articles, more in writing that than in basic research and so on. Because his training has been different. My daughter's training has been different. That's why I said it all depends on what circumstances you're exposed to. That is what determines what you are, whether you're successful or not. And so for those who want to do research, I would say start with the lowest hanging fruit. What did I start with? Small things only I started with. Okay. So you start with case reports, start with case theories, start collecting whatever you're interested in. You get, start collecting your thing and writing a review article, start writing a thing. Then you'll get into the habit. Find a niche area. What is it you're going to work on? Are you going to work on liver? Are you going to work on kidney? Are you going to work on pancreas? Are you going to work on physiology? Or what are orthopedics? What are you going to work on? What is that which has not been done? And what is a niche area? Find that out. And what is that where you have a lot of strengths? Cases, maximum cases you have. You start with that. Soon you'll find people are calling you as an expert. You mentioned my brother, working on food. From the beginning, he has been interested in diabetic food. So I kept away. And I found his interest in food. I said, I won't work on food. So you won't find me working on diabetic food at all. I've kept away from that. That became his area. My wife is working on retinopathy. Only the one area she's working. Only retinopathy. So soon you'll be recognized as an expert in that.
I think so, because you also mentioned in your book also, diabetology runs in your family. I think students should join your family because you can start a course for very specifically for students. How to start writing in the early phase of career, research article. Maybe your academic can bring in courses for them.
We can definitely do that. We'll definitely teach people how to write, what not to write. In fact, in a recently concluded annual update, which is on 30th, 31st of July and 1st of August, the editor of Lancet Diabetes Endocrinology, Dr. Martha Koch, she gave one of our orations. Her topic was writing papers and research in journals behind the scenes. So what happens after you write the paper? That is what she spoke. What will the editor look for? How will the editor decide whether to think? So she said simple things like your covering letter when you write to the editor. That must be strong. You must say, this paper is new because bang, 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 bang. So when they read that, oh, it's a very important paper. Otherwise, I'm submitting a paper to Lancet. They won't have time to go through. So you start your sales pitch right there by telling what your paper is and why it is important, why I'm sending it to Lancet, why Lancet should consider. It's a privilege for Lancet to publish. So that you must be able to sell it well. Then how the abstract is written, how the references are arranged, how your tables are arranged. In fact, we sent one paper to her just now. Before she even sent it for review, she said, I'm sending the paper back to you. These 3 tables, you convert into figures. The other 2-3 tables you keep. This you convert into figures because I feel the reviewer, when he sees, may get confused by the length of the table. So just convert it into figure. Then you submit it, then I'll send it for review. See, a beautiful tip she gave us. When we convert it into figures, it looks so much easier to read. The number of things in the table was so complicated. The moment you went in the table, in one look you can see. See how her eye has picked it up. She's not a diabetologist, but she's an editor. So she's able to pick it up better than what I could do. This is how you learn. Every time you write, after writing 1,400 papers, as I mentioned there, each time 3-4 reviewers, 5,000 reviewers have already seen my work. Okay, and 5,000 reviewers have written to me. Okay, let us say 500 papers are rejected out of that. Those 500 also 3 reviewers have given you. So another 1,500 people have taught you. You learn from the reviewers how to write, what to write. They'll criticize you, say this is not how you should write. Oh, I made a mistake. Okay, now I'll write. So we keep on, then it'll become easy. In your sleep, you can write out.
So I think these kind of skills you should do, because you have mentioned as leap of faith, reverse brain drain. These are all the words which are highlighted on the book. Because everyone goes abroad, but you made
them come here and do PhD here. Correct.
I think students should have a visiting center to you.
Yeah.
We can get a proposal where we can integrate with the students. Where you can
we have visiting students from all over the world actually coming to us. So if you have a thing where at least your MD level or somebody come and spend 1 week with us, 10 days with us, at least as an observer.
Yes, sir.
Be happy to consider.
I'll put forward to my management, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And some of them want to do some short research projects.
Yes.
They can come with an idea. They can work with us. All that is possible.
So previously we'll discuss that once they come there, they will contribute to the research.
Correct.
Not just come and just view and go back.
Yeah.
That's my value proposition for both of the teams.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one. And one more thing, because I'm being a pharmacologist, pioglitazone came as a big shock for everyone.
Yeah.
So how did you handle the criticism? Because it was very, very heavy for you. Your patients coming down on you.
It was not only patients supported me. My patients supported me. My spiritual organization supported me. It was a jealous people, jealous people within the profession who all kinds of allegations were made against me. He took money from pharma. He was bribed. Somebody bribed him to say this. My thing was somebody shouldn't die due to cancer. That was as an ethics person, a spiritual person was and my wife died due to cancer. So that is a time when it happened also. So for me, that cancer thing, by writing a drug, not one patient of mine should get cancer. So that's why I wrote to the Prime Minister, I wrote to people. Then when people found out it's me, they all wanted to, because 800 crore industry, they've said, oh, because of this fellow's influence, because of everybody respects him, if it goes away, 800 crores gone from India. So that was the whole thing they were looking at. So they had to make me a villain. Only then they can come back. Oh, he has done this, he has made money, he has made this, he has made that, and all that. I took it out. I stood it out and said, I don't believe in the drug, I don't believe in the drug. That's it. If you want to bring it back, you bring it back. If you want to keep it in India, keep it. That's not my concern. I'm not going to write. I don't believe in it. I don't use it. So I just stuck it. But eventually, now nobody in the world is using. The whole world is saying, now who is right now? That time, so much of criticism against me. Now, nobody is using it. Why? If I was only bad person, then everybody should be number one drug even now. No? Metformin is still number one. Sulfonylurea is still number one. What happened to pioglitazone? It's gone. Why? So
looking back is very easy, but at that time, the hardship of
it is very difficult, because on Facebook, I quit all social media, everything I quit, because people are writing bad about me. We thought this fellow is an honest fellow, he's a crook, he is this, he is that. So my daughter said, just leave social media. Don't read the comments. I quit WhatsApp. I said, I'm not going to WhatsApp. I'm quitting all that. Eventually, after the drug came back, within 8 weeks, the drug came back. After it came back, it's back in the market. So why keep on criticizing me now? It's come back. The government also, they were in a hurry. I have written my viewpoint. They could have asked 10 other people before. They not ban it based on one person's. It's never done like that. So tomorrow, let us say, really, I want to bring down another drug. And if I just write one letter, is it so easy? He has written, so ban. That is not how it is done now. I could be wrong. Somebody else could be right. Somebody else could be wrong. So then they form a committee. What is this letter? What is this thing? Why? Let us investigate it. Let us see. Then only you decide to ban. They banned it without asking anyone.
Your good intentions were lobbied, sir. Being industry, you can sense it.
Yeah, correct. And they were supporting these fellows to write against me and all.
Yes, I can understand that.
I mean, it's
fantastic.
That's price you pay. That's a title of that is a price you pay for one's integrity in return.
Integrity is there. That's what I want to ask you. Yes. Sir, last few things, rapid fire. I want you to tell about Mike Stieffer. What comes to your mind?
Mike Stiffis.
Yes.
The guy, he's the one whom I met in the toilet. So he's the one who connected me to Gundu Rao, who connected me to Jerome Markowitz, who connected me to Dale Williams. That is all part of serendipity.
Serendipities.
Yeah.
Jerome Markowitz, because I was so
Markowitz, because he died, pancreatic cancer, he developed. But then by the time he had handed it over to Dale Williams. And so Dale Williams took it forward. That's a 15-year collaboration I talked about.
And about, your teacher V.I. Murthy, where he told, I thought of a passion. We went to offer him something.
Amazing. See, he was the owner of Kanchi Hotel, Geeta Cafe. He's a hotelier, basically. Just because of his passion for zoology, he was coming to teach in Loyola College. But he liked me. And so when he saw that, I'm going to go down because of my illness, he took it up and he taught me. And he didn't accept 1 rupee. He got insulted. And I told him that I'll give you money. He said, after finishing everything, just a small token I wanted to give him. He got upset. Very rare to find.
We can see personally.
Very rare. Today, will you find anybody like that? They'll demand and take.
Especially, and few last names. Like you want to share anything about few names? These names. First is your daughter Anjana.
Anjana is, I'm blessed to have a daughter like that. We were discussing in the beginning. Can a doctor's child have a advantage? Of course, she had advantage. She had a grandfather who was quite famous. She had a father who was very famous. But then she has set her own benchmarks. She is so much better than me in so many fields, in administration, in research, in her own vision is much bigger than mine. I had a much bigger vision than my father because I was standing on his shoulder. I could see the world much bigger than what he was seeing. He started from zero. I was already at that level when he came. I stood on him. I could see so much. He's standing on my shoulders. So she has advantage of seeing a much better. See, I started with cups and cures. My father couldn't do clinic epidemiology. I started with cups and cures. She took it to Indab.
Yeah.
Indab and Pure and all came after she came only.
Yes.
So that is the thing. Advantage, but she's very, very focused. She balances her clinical work and research work, family work. She has a child. She's supporting. I'm very, very proud of her.
Dr. Ranjit.
Ranjit is, the best son-in-law I could have ever got. He's a genius. My daughter is a hard-working person like me. Ranjit is a genius. You just call him now and tell him to explain any biochemistry. He will draw. He'll draw all what he learned 20 years ago. He knows. You ask him history, he will tell you every Mughal king, when he was born, when he was dead, when he was thing with the dates and things. You ask him geography. In Africa, some country, something, he'll tell you what the country is producing, what is this thing, the thing. You ask him any sport, he will tell you. You ask him 1965 Olympics, who got something, he'll tell you that also. In fact, he was in that, Pawan Banega Crorepati, In that, his cousin, he has another cousin who's very, very close to him. He went to that 12.5 lakh stage.
Okay.
And the trick question, Amitabh Bachchan was there. And my son-in-law is having dinner. So phone a friend. So he called from there. And he said, your cousin wants to speak to you. Can you speak and give the answer? He gave the answer, it was correct.
Oh.
From 12.5 lakhs, he went to 25 lakhs.
Okay.
So he's
Which year was it, sir? Which year was it?
I forget. Yeah. Sorry, it was not Amitabh Bachchan. It was Shah Rukh Khan.
Shah Rukh Khan, okay.
After Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan took over.
Yes.
It was Shah Rukh Khan, maybe about 6-8 years, 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 6-8 years ago. Shah Rukh Khan was doing it. And so suddenly we could see it on TV. Shah Rukh Khan was there, thing is going on. And, because I told him, if I get stuck, I'll call you. Then he said, yeah, I called your friend. Then he called and we were all sitting and watching and he gave the answer and correct. Answer is correct. So he is a perfect gentleman and a very balanced person.
Dr. Reema, sir.
Reema is my life. I mean, without her, I wouldn't have the guts to leave my father. I wouldn't have had, she was so much of willpower she had. I've never seen anyone with greater willpower. Cancer also could not defeat her. Even death could not defeat her. And she would coolly say, next year I won't be there. But before that, we'll do all that. She had no regrets that she's going to die or anything. She, amazing person. Amazing. Suppose I knew I'm going to die. Will I sit and do this program with you or something? And I'll probably retract. She went on with her life as if nothing was there. Knowing very well that she's not going to be alive in 3 months, 6 months' time. She went on with her usual thing. She said, this is my duty. I just have to do my duty. So what if I'm not there? It doesn't matter. So,
sir, your book has to be made a film because a perfect person will be Gautam Menon. because it had a lot of struggles. It has romance, it has a family thing, it has ups and downs, all those things.
Rajiv Menon was there for the release. So Venu Srinivasan, Rajiv Menon, then my classmate Mohan Kameshwaran, Naresh, and Rajiv Raman from Shankar Nethralaya. These are 5 people who came for my book release. So Rajiv Menon, he said exactly the same thing. He said, when I read the whole book, I was imagining the whole scenes of a movie.
Yeah.
The tragedy, the comedy,
Everything like a whole package.
the hard work, the passion, every scene, I could come to my mind. He was relating each scene, how it would be in a movie and all that. The starting.
My grandfather was a film producer. Even my father went to production. So I can imagine those kind of things. If it was made in the movie, it would be definitely a thing in history. Like nowadays, think of OTT.
Yeah.
It could be much easier. Please think about it, sir. Last few questions.
Yeah.
You've got two DSCs. So what's next?
Not 2. I've got 6 DSCs now.
Sorry for that. Okay.
Yeah. 2 was from MGR Medical University.
Yeah. 2.
But I also got from Kolar. I got from Deakin. I got from somewhere else. So I've got about 5 or 6 DSCs now. Plus I had PhD. Then I had MD. So the number of doctorates, if you take it, 6 or 7 now. If it comes, it comes. What's the point? 6 or 20, what difference does it make? So,
how do you define success, sir?
Success is something which you aspire for something and then you get it, and when you finally get it, it should make you happy, not sad. See, you may want to get 10 crores, and then when you get the 10 crores, it can be the end of you, and it can be so that sucks. It must be something which is contributing to the good of people. Any success that you have should also benefit humanity, and it should give you long-lasting success. So that is what in our Chunampet project, for example, helping so many of those people without getting 1 rupee out of it. That is the greatest satisfaction I have than making 50 centers into 400 centers and making a lot of money. What will I do with it? I can't even take it with me when I die and go. So I think serving people, touching the lives of people, and then having a work balance which is very good, your family life, all that must be balanced. I think that is the best form of success.
Any word of wisdom for students?
Don't be inhibited to dream big. You can dream big, but dreaming alone is not sufficient. You must what I would tell students is what I've written in the book also. Today, decide what you want to do, and at the end of the day, take a piece of paper and write down 10 things you want to achieve in your life. I believe very strongly in that. So tonight, just before you go to bed, that's the best time to do it. Take a piece of paper, just think, what is that I want in my life? And write down 1, 2, 3, 4, preferably in priority, what you want. It may be something which you'll never think you'll achieve, but if you really believe in it and you really want it, somehow God will make you get it. And so you will achieve those, and you can tick off one by one, you can tick it off. I've got lists here that I've made in 2000, lists which I made in 2005, 2008, lists which I made in 2014, and lists which I made in 2018. I made one list only after I finish off all the other things in that list. So those things come true. I don't know whether it's magic or what happens in nature or God listens to you or what it is, I don't know. But if you focus on, that's what I call by focus. You focus on it, your heart really wants it, you will start working towards it. Suddenly you will find doors opening. That's why I like that quote of this: the closed doors shall open and the seemingly impossible becomes possible. I have experienced it in my life, but you must believe in it. If you hesitate, will it happen? It won't happen. You have already asked the question and you have, taken a negative stance. So it will not happen. Whereas if you believe in it and you sincerely want it to happen, it will happen.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very inspiring for us. And we are always seen you as a very big person, and you were so humble to address us, the very small gathering here. And thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Natesh. Thank you for all those questions. I can see that twice when you have read it, you have taken notes, and you can write a précis of that book very well. So
I used to take the highlights here. I make the highlights here because whichever is important.
Okay, fantastic.
I keep on reading that again and again because sometimes when you don't like when you plan, things are not going well. These are all the motivational things which comes in mind.
Thank you. I'm glad that the book has had such a good effect. We'll look forward to continued interaction with you. All my blessings to all the juniors, students, young students. You can all go to very great heights if you think you can go. Nobody would imagine that India will get a gold medal in this Olympics, but we have done it. So we've broken the barrier now. It is a barrier. That barrier has been broken. A day will come when India is getting 10 gold medals, because now that barrier is broken. That we can also, in a field event where a strong man has to throw, an Indian has done it. So I think nothing is impossible. You work towards hard work and lot of planning, lot of excellence. If all that is done, you can also reach the sky. Even the sky is not the limit.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Stay safe, all
of you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.